Jujutsu Kaisen just concluded the highly anticipated battle between Yuji and Sukuna. While this fight had fans glued to the story each week, it didn't quite reach the same intensity as the earlier clash between Gojo and Sukuna. Still, the stakes were high, and the tension kept fans engaged. As the battle came to a close, Yuji displayed significant growth, managing to expand his domain, an impressive feat that marked his rise to a new level of power. It was within this domain that the fight finally came to an end, with Yuji standing victorious. But even with this major win under his belt, there's been considerable discussion about his domain expansion. Fans have pointed out that despite Yuji's progression, his domain expansion didn't quite deliver in the way many had hoped. It lacked the same impact as others we've seen in the series, which may have left some viewers wanting more from such a pivotal moment. Regardless, this fight represents a major turning point for Yuji, solidifying his growth and setting the stage for what could be an even more intense future. The expectations for Yuji are higher than ever, and Chapter 269 could dive deeper into how this new power affects the broader narrative moving forward. Anyway, before we continue any further, please press the like button and please subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications so you don't miss any daily uploads. Now, let's continue. This was a long process for him to achieve a domain expansion, whose setup began much earlier than his fight against Sukuna. After all, for a domain expansion to be successfully cast, a sorcerer must be exemplary at setting up barriers. In Yuji's case, this important learning came during the small time skip between the Culling game and the Shinjuku Showdown arc. This was during the time when he received an advantage from a technique by Mei Mei's little brother that allowed him to switch places with others twice a month. One of those was with Yuta, and another one was with Kusakabe, who taught Yuji the essential barrier techniques. It was under Kusakabe's guidance that Yuji learned how to use a simple domain, which is a basic technique in mastering other advanced techniques such as a domain expansion. With good barrier techniques up his sleeve, Yuji was finally strong enough to make his very own domain expansion. An innate technique that was powerful in the same time skip. Yuji ate Death Paintings number 4 to 9 in Awakened Blood Manipulation. While this technique should have eventually led to a blood domain, Yuji's control over blood manipulation wasn't refined enough for that to come to be. Everything changed when Yuji landed a Black Flash against Sukuna. The strong strike triggered the awakening of the Shrine technique, a power which had been foreshadowed earlier in the story. In creating his Shrine domain expansion, Yuji combined the Shrine technique with his barrier. Ironically, the true name for this domain was never really known to the fans, and its mechanics were never well explained. What is known, though, is that in his domain, Yuji's abilities are very much enhanced. This is in tune with the basic principle of domain expansion, whereby the user is infinitely stronger inside their own domain compared to an opponent's. To put it simply, they would be fighting on home soil. In this domain, Yuji was hitting harder, faster, and more often than Sukuna, who had all the factors working against him. There was a quirky little thing that happened with this domain fight. This time around, Yuji had succeeded in showing Sukuna pieces of his old life with him, in ways that felt very real and beyond a simple metaphysical connection. Okay, I just want to say his domain doesn't make him infinitely strong, it just boosts his stats. These scenes from Yuji's childhood appeared to be an attempt to stir any trace of humanity left in Sukuna. It was Yuji's last-ditch effort to get Sukuna to change his course, urging him to release Fushiguro and return to him, offering to spare his life if he did. But Sukuna rejected the offer, and with that, the final battle inside the domain commenced. When Yuji stepped into his domain expansion to face Sukuna, expectations were sky. Fans had been waiting for this moment, hoping it would deliver the same intensity seen in previous battles, like Gojo's iconic clash with Sukuna. However, the battle ended up being a bit of a letdown. Although Yuji landed powerful hits on Sukuna, severely injuring him, the fight didn't live up to its potential. Yuji needed backup from Fushiguro and eventually Nobara to bring down the King of Curses, a team effort that culminated with Yuji's Black Flash inside the domain. One of the major disappointments was Yuji's domain expansion itself. Fans were left with more questions than answers about how it actually worked. The domain appeared to enhance Yuji's physical strength, allowing him to hit harder and faster, but beyond that, it didn't offer much in terms of unique abilities. A domain expansion is typically expected to introduce a distinct signature move, or sure hit technique, something that sets the battle apart. But for Yuji, the only thing his domain seemed to do was amplify his existing abilities. The lack of a clear sure hit technique was a significant letdown. Fans had hoped Yuji's domain would reveal a new and innovative move, perhaps something on the level of Gojo's Infinite Void or Sukuna's Barrage of Slashes. Instead, Yuji simply relied on his Shrine technique, which he had used before, without adding anything new to the table. The absence of a unique attack within his domain left fans feeling like this crucial moment in Yuji's growth fell short of its potential. In the end, Yuji's domain served its purpose by helping him land stronger hits, but it didn't introduce anything game-changing. The fact that it lacked a defining technique, despite being hyped for so long, made this confrontation feel somewhat underwhelming compared to the high expectations that had been set throughout the series. Yuji's domain expansion didn't stand out in the way fans had hoped. It lacked the grandeur of Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine, which was hailed as a masterpiece by the author, and it didn't evoke the same fear or sense of invincibility as Gojo's Unlimited Void, which left enemies in complete despair. Instead, Yuji's domain did little more than enhance his physical stats and strengthen his soul dismantle technique. That's where the disappointment set in. Fans weren't even given the name of his domain, and there wasn't a clear sense of what made it truly unique, leaving many to feel that Yuji's domain expansion fell flat compared to expectations. The issue isn't just about the lack of flashy techniques or an iconic move. It's about missed potential. Domain expansions are supposed to be defining moments for sorcerers, showcasing their true capabilities. In Yuji's case, his domain didn't seem to offer much beyond a power boost. The anticipation built around this moment, combined with the lack of a distinctive ability or even a name for his domain, left fans feeling let down. They expected something more, something on the level of Gojo or Sukuna, but instead, what they got felt unfinished and incomplete. Now you can see why Yuji's domain expansion is seen as a letdown by many fans. The lack of detail, uniqueness, and a proper signature move all contribute to the disappointment. It didn't live up to the high standards set by other domain expansions in the series, and that's hard to ignore. Hopefully, we'll get more information that could clarify some of the unanswered questions about how Yuji's domain actually works. But with only 3 chapters left in the series, it's unlikely we'll see a deeper explanation at this point. That said, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Yuji's domain could still be redeemed, or are you just as disappointed as the rest of the community? Drop your opinions in the comments below and let's talk about it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and be sure to turn on all post notifications so you won't miss any of my daily uploads. There's a lot more to discuss as the series heads toward its conclusion, and I don't want you to miss any of it.